Good morning and welcome to Breakfast News. This Friday morning, we're with you with all that is making news this Friday morning. First up, of course, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be inaugurating the Infinity Forum, which is a leadership forum on fintech. We're going to get you all the updates from there, and of course we're also keeping a track of the proceedings in both the houses of the Parliament, the Lok Sabha as well as the Rajya Sabha, and also keeping an eye on the cyclone situation in Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. All of this and much more in the next 1 hour. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. With me is Rukma.
A very good morning to you, Shreya, and to all our viewers as well. As Shreya just said, for the first dose of news for the day, we have for you all the latest in detail, as well as we connect with our reporters. Alarm bells set off across the world with the rising cases of Omicron now, the heavily mutated variant of coronavirus, among other world news from sports, business and much more. But first, here are the headlines.
Lok Sabha witnesses 13 hours of marathon discussion on the corona epidemic. The discussion is timely as there is an emergence of the new variant. Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia likely to reply to the discussion today.
World on Omicron alert. New York State confirms 5 cases of the COVID-19 variant. Norway reintroduces COVID restrictions. Nepal imposes Omicron ban on 9 countries. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa says the travel ban on Omicron is a global health apartheid.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate the Infinity Forum, a thought leadership forum on fintech. International Financial Services Centres Authority in collaboration with Gift City to host the event. Indonesia, South Africa and UK are the partner countries in the first edition.
Odisha, Andhra ramp up preparedness to deal with Cyclone Jawad, likely to witness heavy to very heavy rains in coastal areas. 12 teams of NDRF, 60 teams of ODRAF and 172 firefighting units being deployed in Odisha in preparedness.
President Ramnath Kovind to be the chief guest at the ceremony to celebrate the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, organized by the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities.
Supreme Court to resume hearing on matters seeking emergency steps to control worsening air quality situation in the national capital. All schools in Delhi to be closed from today till further orders due to current pollution levels in the city.
And in sports, India versus New Zealand, the match they play against each other in the second test match today at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. All right, let's begin with our top story, which is the proceedings of the Parliament.
And as we were telling you, the Lok Sabha on Thursday saw a marathon debate on the COVID situation in the country, with nearly 74 members expressing their views. During the long debate in the lower house, members expressed concern over the Omicron variant and raised questions about booster doses and providing vaccination to the entire population. The discussion, which went on for nearly 13 hours, almost concluded discussions on COVID-19 and various aspects related to it under Rule 193. Meanwhile, Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia is likely to answer the discussion today. And joining us now is our correspondent Vikas Sarthi with more details of the proceedings in Parliament. Vikas, talking about the marathon debate which took place, the marathon discussions, what would you say were the highlights or the major issues that were highlighted by various members as they spoke?
Right, Rukma, it was a marathon proceeding yesterday on the issue of COVID-19, and almost all the members across the party line expressed their concern over the new variant, and some members expressed their resentment on the previous waves of COVID-19. Some members pointed out that there were not enough medical supplies when the country was facing COVID-19 pandemic. So all the members expressed what they wanted to say about the management of the COVID-19 at the previous occasion, and what are the preparations to face this new variant. Some members also raised the issue of preparation of the government. Now today, Health Minister will give a detailed reply on this discussion, and yesterday we saw the proceedings went on for almost 13 hours. The proceedings to come to an end around midnight, and now today Health Minister will give a detailed reply. What is the status of the new COVID variant in the country? How many cases have been reported? How many cases have been confirmed? So all these details will be given at the floor of the House. Apart from it, there are two important bills will also be introduced by the government. These bills are related to the tenure of CVC chief and CBI director, where government has proposed that their tenure can be extended up to 5 years. As of now, both the ED chief and the CBI director have a fixed 2-year tenure, and they can be given extension of few months. So this amendment will be introduced in the Lok Sabha. Apart from it, on Friday, both houses discuss private members bill as well. So some members will give their suggestions and will introduce their private bills in both the houses.
Okay, Vikas, the health minister is going to reply in the discussion today, right? When we talk about the Omicron variant.
Right, Shreya. Health Minister will give details about the what is the status of the this new variant and how many cases have been reported by states, because all the data is collected by state. Center keeps that data at central level. So whatever information is available with the government, this will be given at the floor of the House, and what are the arrangements have been put in place, what is the aviation policy as of now, all these details will be given.
All right, because this was about the business that is lined up in the parliament, but you know, we've also been seeing a lot of tussle when it comes to the suspension of the 12 MPs. The opposition has been creating a ruckus in both houses of the parliament. Can we expect something on that today?
Well, sure, these MPs have been holding a protest since very first day. It has been going on from the very beginning, and we expect that in the upcoming week there might be some kind of understanding between these suspended MPs and the chair. In fact, chairman already gave a kind of offer to these MPs that if they are ready to give an unconditional apology, their suspension may be revoked. But these members have been adamant that they didn't do anything wrong, and they raised right issues. So they are adamant, but chairman given them opportunity more than once. In fact, yesterday also chairman said that he cannot express his anguish in public the way House is being disturbed from the very first day, and he said that people are saying that the suspension of these unruly MPs is undemocratic, but they are not talking about their behavior, what they did at the floor of the House. So if any MP does these kind of things at the floor of the House, then can we say that this suspension is undemocratic? So chairman again and again repeating that if these MPs come ahead and they offer an unconditional apology, their suspension may be revoked.
All right, we'll have to see how that pans out. Vikas Sarthi, thanks very much for joining us with those inputs on the proceedings of the Parliament. Well, meanwhile, today is the 5th day of the winter session of the Parliament in the Lok Sabha. Apart from discussion on the COVID-19, Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia will move the National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research Amendment Bill for consideration and passing. Dr. Jitendra Singh will introduce the Delhi Special Police Establishment Amendment Bill 2021 and the Central Vigilance Commission Amendment Bill of 2021. In the Rajya Sabha, meanwhile, several bills are listed under the private members' legislative business. Abhishek Manu Singhvi will move the Right to Universal and Free Healthcare Bill 2019 for consideration and passing. The bill provides for the right to free and compulsory healthcare services and universal health to people. Dr. Vinay Sahasrabudhe will move the Companies Amendment Bill of 2019 for consideration and passing. The bill will further amend the Companies Act of 2013. Vandana Chavan will move the Children with Specific Learning Disabilities Identification and Support in Education Bill 2018 for consideration and passing. The bill is to identify and support the children with learning disabilities in education. Meanwhile, Vijay Sai Reddy will move the Constitution Amendment Bill 2019 for consideration and passing. The bill is to amend the Constitution of India. Dr. Sasmit Patra will move the State Reorganization Commission Bill 2019 for consideration and passing. The bill is to provide for the establishment of a commission for reorganization of states within the geographical boundaries of the Union of India with an objective to preserve and strengthen the unity of India.
And now an update on the Omicron situation in India. 2 COVID-19 cases of the Omicron variant have been detected, making it the 30th country in the world to report the coronavirus strain that has triggered global alarm. Joint Secretary in the Health Ministry, Love Agarwal, has confirmed the development. The Health Ministry has called for utmost precautions to be taken in view of this new variant of COVID. Appeals have been made to people to follow COVID-appropriate behavior, and for this there has been discussion with states as well. The Health Ministry has said that to stop the transmission of the new COVID-19 variant, passengers arriving from at-risk countries need to undergo RT-PCR test on arrival. If found positive for COVID, they will be treated under clinical management protocol. If negative, they will follow home quarantine for 7 days. The Health Ministry has further said that scientific evidence is emerging on the new COVID variant Omicron, and in future, whatever decisions are taken will be based on scientific facts. And the WHO has declared the new coronavirus variant Omicron as a variant of concern. A total of 12 countries, including South Africa, Mauritius, Brazil, Hong Kong, Israel, China, Zimbabwe, Singapore, New Zealand and Botswana have been designated as high risk.
Now, in the wake of the Omicron outbreak, several countries have resorted to a variety of travel bans and restrictions. New York officials have confirmed 5 cases of the Omicron COVID-19 variant in the New York City metropolitan area, hours after cases were detected in Minnesota and Colorado. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, in a press briefing, said that 1 case was discovered in Suffolk County on Long Island, while 2 cases were reported in Queens, 1 in Brooklyn and 1 in Manhattan. Hochul assured residents that the discovery of Omicron cases in New York does not mean that she will call for the same kind of widespread lockdowns at the beginning of the pandemic that shuttered businesses and put millions of New Yorkers out of work. The first confirmed US case of the heavily mutated strain was detected in California in a resident who had just returned to San Francisco from South Africa, which first reported the strain to the World Health Organization about a week ago. The Colorado case was also confirmed in a traveler who had just returned from Southern Africa. The California, Minnesota and Colorado cases were all diagnosed in fully vaccinated people who had mild cases.
Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden on Thursday laid out his strategy to fight the coronavirus as the highly contagious Omicron spread across the globe with winter coming, and hours after the first known US case of community transmission of the variant was reported. With authorities around the world scrambling to contain the new variant, Biden warned in no uncertain terms that infections would rise this winter. He, however, said that his plans to fight COVID-19 do not include shutdowns.
Today, I'm back to announce our action plan to battle COVID-19 this winter. Not that any of us are surprised in views, because it's the combined advice from all of you that we developed this plan. And it doesn't include shutdowns or lockdowns, but widespread vaccinations and boosters and testing and a lot more.
The administration is urging all eligible Americans to get vaccinated or booster shots to fight Omicron, which is spreading quickly around the world, and will increase family vaccination sites as well as expand availability at pharmacies.
But we have the best tools, the best vaccines in the world, and the best medicine, and the best scientists in the world. We're going to fight this variant with science and speed, not chaos and confusion.
Under Biden's plan, the United States will require inbound international passengers to be tested for COVID within 1 day of departure, regardless of vaccination status. Mask requirements on airplanes, trains and public transportation vehicles will be extended to the 18th of March.
It used to be that international traveler flying to the United States had to test negatively 3 days before their departure from that country. Well, I'm announcing today that all inbound international travelers must test within 1 day of departure, regardless of their vaccination status or nationality. This tighter testing timetable provides an added degree of protection as scientists continue to study the Omicron variant.
And less than 60% of the U.S. population have been fully vaccinated so far, one of the lowest rates among wealthy nations. So far, 3 U.S. states have found Omicron cases: California, Colorado and Minnesota. In all 3, patients were fully vaccinated and had developed mild symptoms. In California and Colorado, the patients had recently returned from trips to South Africa and had not gotten booster doses. The case in Minnesota is the first known community transmission within the United States. The patient in Minnesota had recently traveled to New York City for an anime convention, prompting the city to launch contact tracing to try to contain the spread.
Norway, meanwhile, is reintroducing some nationwide restrictions to curb the spread of COVID-19 following the emergence of the new Omicron variant. The measures were taken after a 5th person tested positive for the Omicron variant on Thursday in the wake of a corporate Christmas party in Oslo last week. All travelers arriving to Norway, both vaccinated and unvaccinated, will be required to take a test within 24 hours of arrival. In areas with high infection rates, such as the capital Oslo, the use of face masks in crowded places will be mandatory, as will be working from home, at least for the part of the week, for those who are able to.
Even if we don't have sufficient information about the new virus, the government believes that it's important to implement tougher measures. It is about limiting the spread in Oslo and the surrounding areas where we have a big outbreak, and seeing if there is a need for more restrictions nationally, as it's likely that the Omicron variant will spread to other parts of the country.
And the Nepalese government has decided to ban the entry of citizens and travelers from 9 countries, including South Africa and Hong Kong, in view of the latest COVID variant, Omicron. The ban for travelers arriving and transiting these countries would come into effect from midnight tonight. Passengers arriving from and transiting South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Lesotho, Eswatini, Mozambique, Malawi and Hong Kong are banned. Travelers who have visited one of the 9 countries in the past 3 weeks will also be restricted from entering Nepal. Those already on their way to Nepal from the aforementioned 9 countries will have to go through a mandatory quarantine.
From Nepal, let's go to South Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa has once again reiterated that regional travel bans imposed following last week's discovery of the Omicron COVID-19 variant are unscientific and a risk forming a global health apartheid. Ramaphosa has doubled down on his rejection of the travel bans to South Africa amid the discovery of the Omicron variant of COVID-19, saying it was a slap in the face of African excellence.
The imposition of travel bans on South Africa and a number of countries from Southern Africa are regrettable, unfair, and unscientific. Given that it was our own scientists African scientists who first detected the Omicron variant. It is also a slap in the face of African excellence and expertise.
The South African president has used his four-country West Africa tour to canvass for support against the travel bans, which he insisted were unfair. During his first official visit to Ivory Coast, Ramaphosa told the media that the travel ban would cause untold damage on South Africa's economy and its tourism sector.
These bans will cause untold damage, in particular to travel and tourism that sustain businesses and livelihoods in South Africa and the Southern African region. We have already heard reports of how these bans are reducing the effectiveness of our businesses in South Africa almost by 50%, as many travelers who would have come to South Africa and indeed to our sister countries in Southern Africa have already started cancelling their travel plans.
The Omicron variant, remember, which was discovered by South African scientists, has caused a global alarm, with countries limiting travel from South Africa for fear it could spread quickly even in vaccinated populations. The World Health Organization has said that the variant carries a high risk of infection surges. South Africa has reported a close to 3 million COVID-19 infections over the course of the pandemic and over 89,000 deaths, the most on the African continent.
And British Prime Minister Boris Johnson received his COVID-19 booster shot on Thursday, while urging others to follow suit and help the country fend off the Omicron variant of coronavirus. Johnson briefly chatted to staff and others queuing for their shots at the vaccination centre in central London, asking them if they were there to receive a booster dose and thanking them for attending. So far, the UK has administered 18.6 million booster jabs in the country.
Londoners rolled up their sleeves as a COVID-19 vaccine booster program picked up the pace following the emergence of the new Omicron variant. So far, nearly 51 million people in Britain have received their first COVID vaccine, almost 89% of the population aged over 12. More than 46 million have had 2 doses and some 18.6 million have received a booster shot. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Boris Johnson had announced a new target to offer all adults a vaccine booster by the end of January, speeding up the rollout by an extra 1 million doses a week. 32 cases of the heavily mutated Omicron variant, which it is feared could be more transmissible, have been identified in Britain so far.
And now a look at updates on COVID-19 from across the world, which is seeing an upward trend in COVID cases yet again. The number of cases has crossed 26 crore 44 lakhs globally, while so far more than 23 crore 84 lakhs have recovered worldwide. The virus has claimed over 52 lakh 49,000 lives. The United States continues to remain the worst affected, with the disease registering more than 4 crore 96 lakh cases and over 8 lakh fatalities. COVID-19 cases have been mushrooming all across the European countries, with the UK being the hardest hit. The UK has more than 1 crore 3 lakh cases of COVID, followed by France, where the cases have risen above 77 lakh 73,000. Germany has also registered a spike in the number of cases, with the total tally standing at above 60 lakh 26,000. Italy trails behind it, where the number is over 50 lakh 60,000 COVID-19 cases being registered.
Meanwhile, India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed 125.65 crore, with the administration of over 66 lakh 21,000 vaccine doses in the last 24 hours. Cumulatively, 125 crore 65 lakh 96,957 beneficiaries have been vaccinated across the country so far. The vaccination exercise as a tool to protect the most vulnerable population groups in the country from COVID-19 continues to be regularly reviewed and monitored at the highest level.
Today is the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. On the occasion, the President will be the chief guest at a ceremony to celebrate the day at Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi. President Kovind will confer the annual national awards on individuals, institutions, organizations and state or districts and so on for their outstanding achievements and work towards the empowerment of persons with disabilities. The function is being organized by the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, Union Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Union Minister for Social Justice and Empowerment, Dr. Virendra Kumar, will preside over the function, while Union Minister of State for Social Justice and Empowerment, Ramdas Athavale, A. Narayanasamy and Pratima Bhomik will also grace the occasion.
Moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Infinity Forum, a thought leadership forum on fintech via video conferencing today. Indonesia, South Africa and UK are the partner countries in the first edition of the two-day forum. Infinity Forum will bring together the leading minds of the world in policy, business and technology to discuss and come up with actionable insight into how technology and innovation can be leveraged by the fintech industry for inclusive growth and serving humanity at large. The agenda of the forum will focus on the theme of Beyond, with various sub-themes including fintech beyond boundaries, with governments and businesses focusing beyond the geographical boundaries in the development of global stack to promote financial inclusiveness, fintech beyond finance by having convergence with emerging areas such as space tech, green tech and agri-tech to drive sustainable development, and fintech beyond next with a focus on how quantum computing could impact the nature of fintech industry in the future and promote new opportunities. The forum will witness the participation from over 70 countries. Our colleague Abhishek Jha is joining us for more on this. Abhishek, good morning. A very significant forum there being inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi. You know, we've seen Prime Minister and his government focusing a lot when it comes to fintech, when it comes to using technology and financial services to be able to reach the last man in the queue and sort of, you know, provide the ease of living when it comes to financial services. So a hugely significant forum when the Prime Minister will inaugurate it today.
Of course, Shreya, this is one of its kind because in the past, as you said, our government has been focusing on using technologies to make easier the lives of people, both in terms of financial inclusion or other basic necessities or basic amenities that a person needs. We have seen how financial inclusion and digital technology has made huge headway in Indian people's life. All those digital payment that has seen an increasing number of volume being transferred as in terms of business on various digital platform, the number of other facilities. In fact, in this time of COVID lockdown in the past 2 years, we have seen that we were in fact able to conduct our life in more ways, and the problems were reduced substantially because of the dependence on various technological platforms. And in fact, in the last 2 years, more technological enhancement or innovation have also come in place to ensure that our life remains usual or no major disturbance or disruption happens. So everything is happening because of the technology, everything is happening because of the innovation which is trying to capture the various demands in various aspect of our lives. And this event that is going to happen today will actually be a platform where various stakeholders from various countries, almost 70 countries, and the representatives from various companies are participating. We'll be discussing the way forward as to what are the new innovations that that our lives can have, and how soon or how easily it can be made available to us. Various corporation heads like from Reliance, from Kotak, they'll also be addressing the event. The ministers from Indonesia will also be addressing the event, and we can assume that after the deliberation and the various discussion that is going to happen around this event, we'll be able to have more thoughtful and very aware instance as to what is going to be the way forward and what are going to be the new areas where innovations and financial technologies are going to be the need, and how the companies are going to supply that.
Right, Abhishek, the theme of the two-day forum also very interesting. It says its focus is on the theme of beyond, focusing on beyond borders, beyond finance. So are we, is this basically, are we going to be able to listen to issues discussed about the world as it stands after COVID-19, where there are really no boundaries anymore?
Of course, Rukma, we have seen that how this digital technology or all this data technology has actually blurred the line of geographical boundaries across the world. Like companies sitting in USA or companies sitting in Latin America are conducting businesses and facilitating various means because of the internet and data technology. And this is what this whole focus of this current event is also, because the agriculture, there are various problems that are almost common in various parts of the world, and with little tweaking, the problems can be customized with the geographical needs. Because like in India, there are agricultural sectors which do need various sort of innovations, and if technology is included in that sector, it can have various of problems, like you can say about this irrigation or making the this whole land organized, or to know the fertilizer capacity of a land. Everything can be detected through various data technology. The same technology can also be applied in other parts of the geography, in the other parts of the world. Also, there are financial inclusion that we have talked. That financial inclusion has been one of the key focus area of the current government, and it has helped the people across the country, in the remotest part of the country, to conduct online businesses and get themselves more beneficiary and get themselves more exposed to the world, because earlier their product or their commodities were limited to a particular area. But now with this arrival of this financial and technological platforms, they can also have exposure to the entire world, where they can sell their product, they can sell their commodity and get themselves benefited. So various of such innovative ideas will be discussed, which are actually going to help the common man. This is not something that is going to be discussed for the various corporate giants. The common people's life are going to be made easier with this discussion that are actually expected to take place around this event.
Right. All right, Abhishek, thanks very much for joining us with those inputs. It's going to be interesting to see. We've seen India taking a stance on mobile payments and the government encouraging it, and now it will be very interesting to see how India really supports and talks on issues like artificial intelligence, machine learning, crowdfunding being used to reach the last man when it comes to the financial services in daily life.
And in other news, the Supreme Court will continue hearing on the deteriorating air quality in the national capital Delhi and NCR. The apex court on Thursday, warning of strict action, gave a 24-hour ultimatum to the centre, Delhi and neighbouring states to act against industrial and vehicular pollution, counted as the main causes behind deteriorating air quality here. A special bench comprising Chief Justice N.V. Ramanna, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud and Justice Suryakant also warned they would be forced to form a task force if the government could not decide and act in time to save lives. The top court also pulled up the Delhi government on the issue of CNG buses in the capital and schools being reopened amid the worsening air quality. The apex court questioned as to when the government implemented work from home for adults, why are children being forced to go to school? After the Supreme Court pulled up the Delhi government for resuming physical classes amid the rising air pollution levels, Delhi government has now decided to shut all schools in Delhi from Friday till further orders.
Now, what's the situation today? Well, the air quality improved a bit today following light rainfall or drizzle in parts of Delhi NCR yesterday. The air quality index settled in the very poor category from the severe one yesterday, with the AQI clocking at 385. According to the Ministry of Earth Sciences, air quality monitors suffered. The air quality is likely to improve from today onwards due to better wind speed. SAFA in its advisory said that the low mixing near height is preventing efficient dispersion of pollutants. The weather office also said that maximum temperature is likely to hover around 22 degrees Celsius.
The National Disaster Response Force has deployed 62 teams across Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu and Andaman and Nicobar Islands in view of impending cyclone Jawad. In view of the cyclone alert issued by the Met Department, 4 NDRF teams have been rushed to Vijayawada in Andhra Pradesh for pre-deployment. DG NDRF Atul Karwal has said that NDRF is in touch with the state governments and is providing teams that have been asked for. He also added there are teams in reserve if needed.
Now, the low pressure system in the Bay of Bengal has turned into a deep depression and is likely to take the form of a cyclone today. The cyclone, which is heading towards north coastal Andhra Pradesh districts, puts the state government on high alert as the Met Department predicted that there would be heavy to very heavy rains today and tomorrow. District officials intimated cyclone-related work. NDRF and SDRF teams have been deployed in Kalingapattam, Tekkali and Srikakulam. Tehsildar office will handle any situation. 68 rehabilitation centers are open in Srikakulam district as of now, where essentials are stocked up. Farmers who have harvested paddy crop had been moved to safer places. Irrigation and Revenue Department officials are monitoring Nagavali, Vamasahadra and Bahuda rivers. Highways and roads are also given priority by the officials. A review meeting will be conducted today. M. Srinivas, who's been tracking these updates in Andhra Pradesh, joins us on the phone line from Vijayawada. Srinivas, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Extremely concerning situation there in Andhra Pradesh. First of all, tell us, what is the situation like today? What's the weather like, since heavy rainfall is forecast for today and tomorrow?
Yeah, indeed, it's a heavy, kind of situation which we didn't expect it. Coming to weather, today afternoon from onwards there would be rain will start, and in the evening and in the night it will pick up and there would be heavy to heavy rain, very heavy rain in the evening and night, and it will continue till Saturday evening. Studio?
Right, Srinivas, when we talk about the preparations, what are the steps that have been taken? Are any evacuation measures as of now?
As of now, there is no evacuation measure as of now, but 3 districts are geared up for this cyclone Jawad. Vizag, which is maybe have a lesser chance of cyclone, which is also geared up, which deployed 3 NDRF and SDRF teams, and all tourist spots have been closed in Vizag, which is a tourist city, and people have been advised not to venture out from their homes at least couple of days. And Mallikarjun, collector Vizag, Visakhapatnam, was visiting yesterday and taking stock of the situation. He visited all low-lying areas and possible landslide areas and instructed officials to take precautionary measures and ensure there should not be any untoward incident happen regarding this Vizag. And coming to Vijayanagaram, another district which may have a big impact, the officials have said that 2 days schools will be closed, and Suryakumari collector has visited all fishermen areas and requested them to not to venture into sea, and she also said that control rooms have been established in Srikakulam, Vijayanagaram, and in regarding Srikakulam, where there will be a massive cyclone hit, and Tekkali could be a place where there would be heavy to very heavy rain and there would be massive cyclone. And here, Srikesh Latkar, who is the collector in charge of the district, is taking every step to ensure there should not be any untoward incident and there should not be any property, human lives lost. And they have around 64 rehabilitation centers and in 12 coastal mandals and 19 other mandals in Srikakulam. And fishermen have been advised not to go into sea. and all the essentials for these centers have been stocked up in their rehabilitation center studio.
Right, Srinivas, well, many thanks for joining us there, and we'll be back with you throughout the day for more. You keep your eyes on that story.
Absolutely. Now from Andhra Pradesh, let's go to Odisha, which is fully geared up to face the cyclone Javad, which is likely to affect 13 to 14 districts in the coastal belt and southern part of the state. Districts like Ganjam and Gajapati are expected to witness heavy to very heavy rainfall between today and tomorrow. Wind speed could range from 60 to 100 kilometers per hour. 12 teams of NDRF, 60 teams of ODRAF and 172 firefighting units have been deployed in the districts which are likely to be affected. Around 100 cyclone shelters are ready and collectors have been asked to shift people to safety from vulnerable areas. Now every department, water resources and PWD officials are ready to deal with any emergency. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviewed the preparedness to deal with Cyclone Javad, including timely evacuation of those in the affected areas and ensuring maintenance of essential supplies.
The International Monetary Fund Chief Economist Gita Gopinath is set to take over as the institution's #2 official next month. Gopinath will succeed Jeffrey Okamoto as the first Deputy Managing Director, serving under IMF Chief Kristalina Georgieva, the first time two women have held the top leadership roles. The first Deputy Managing Director will take the lead on surveillance and related policies, oversee research and flagship publications, and help foster the highest quality standards for fund publications. Gopinath led the IMF's research department through the pandemic era and a 2020 recession that was the worst peacetime decline since the Great Depression.
Now today is the birth anniversary of the first President of independent India, Bharat Ratna Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid his tributes to the late leader, saying, and I quote, "He made a special contribution to the freedom struggle of the country. His life, dedicated in the interest of the nation, will always remain a source of inspiration for the countrymen," unquote.
And news from across the world in our next segment.
A building in the UN headquarters compound in Manhattan was on lockdown as the New York City police officers responded to a situation outside the entrance of the compound following media reports of a man with what appeared to be a shotgun pointed under his neck. Police were trying to establish a dialogue with the man, who appeared to be in his 60s, while the situation was still active. Now, the man with the gun was later arrested by the New York police, and it was who first initiated a dialogue with him. The police surrounded the area around the UN compound in Manhattan's east side. UN spokesperson Stephen Jurek denied any indication that the person arrested outside its headquarters in New York is a staff member or former staff member of the United Nations. He further said that the incident does not seem to be politically motivated in any way.
Germany's military honored outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel with their highest ceremony for a civilian, playing an eclectic mix of music of her own choosing that has intrigued the nation. Less than a week before Merkel will officially hand over power to her successor Olaf Scholz, she received her country's highest military honors, featuring a traditional parade of torch-bearing soldiers and a marching band. Merkel is Germany's first East German Chancellor and the first Chancellor of post-war Germany to be seen off in Berlin. The ceremony, broadcast live on television and hosted by the Defense Minister, lasted about an hour, rich in military choreography and ritual. Known as the Große Zapfenstreich or Grand Tattoo, it dates to the 16th century and is the highest honor the military can bestow on civilians. It has been performed as the official farewell to departing chancellors since German reunification. Merkel is only the third German chancellor to be honored with such a military grand tattoo ceremony. In a short address, she thanked everyone, saying it is now up to the next government to find answers to the challenges that lie ahead of us and to shape our future.
And after that, let's move on to our next segment, Sports Track.
India and New Zealand will lock horns in the second test of the two-match series, starting the 3rd of December, that's today, at Mumbai's Wankhede Stadium. And Virat Kohli will make a comeback to lead the team after the first match ended on day 5 as a draw, although the Kiwis were on the ropes, hanging on for dear life. More in this report.
India and New Zealand will lock horns in the second test of the two-match series starting the 3rd of December at Mumbai's Wankhede Stadium. The first test match ended in a draw in Kanpur despite gaining the edge over New Zealand on day 5 and as the Kiwis held their nerves to avoid a defeat. Now the two teams are all set to battle it out in the series decider. Despite the return of Virat Kohli, India will still try to fit in both Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane in the playing 11 as New Zealand are all set to bring in Neil Wagner. It will be interesting to see who makes way for the Indian captain as speculations are being made on Ajinkya Rahane, Cheteshwar Pujara and Mayank Agarwal. On the other hand, Wriddhiman Saha can also be benched due to stiffness in his neck.
I think it's with Ajinkya and obviously Pujara. We know that there are a lot of experience behind them. They've played enough cricket, and we also know as a team that they're one inning away from coming into form. So as a team, everyone is behind them, backing them. We know that the value they bring to the team, the experience that they have, will come good. So it's just one inning away from getting back in form.
The match will be differently poised this time considering the pitch that offers ample pace and bounce. The wicket on this venue favors the batters as they can play on the up and the surface will assist the spinners. New Zealand, the World Test champions after beating India in the title clash in June, denied the hosts a win in an enthralling 5 days of play in the opening match. The final pairing of Rachin Ravindra and Ajaz Patel survived in dimming light as gutsy New Zealand held on for a memorable draw. In a good news for Team India, however, that will enjoy the home ground benefit this time, the Maharashtra government has allowed 25% crowd capacity for the second test between India and New Zealand at the Wankhede Stadium as only 1,200 tickets went up for online sales on Tuesday. The capacity of the stadium is 33,000 but only 8,260 tickets have been printed due to government restrictions on crowds in stadiums. As the second match will be a decider one for both the teams, performance pressure will be mounting on India and the Kiwis who almost neared a first test defeat in Kanpur. Sports Desk, DD India.
From cricket, let's shift focus to hockey in the 2021 Men's FIH Hockey Junior World Cup semi-final match. Holders and two-time champions India take on the most successful side in the history of the tournament, Germany, at Bhubaneswar in Odisha today. India, who defeated Belgium by a solitary goal in a repeat of the last edition's final for a place in the last four, will face probably the biggest challenge of the tournament when they take on Germany today. The German Colts will be extra motivated to beat their Indian rivals. India had defeated Germany in the bronze medal playoff at Tokyo Olympics.
And now to today's episode of our glorious freedom struggle, one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. In today's edition, we remember the youngest freedom fighters we ever had, Khudiram Bose, a devoted national leader and the first president of the Indian Republic, Bharat Ratna Dr. Rajendra Prasad, whose anniversary we're celebrating today, and a celebrated freedom fighter and social reformer from Odisha, Rama Devi Chaudhary. Let's take a look.
Today we remember one of the youngest freedom fighters, Khudiram Bose, who was born on the 3rd of December 1889 in Midnapur district. Khudiram was drawn towards revolutionary activities during adolescence and was inspired by Sri Aurobindo Ghosh and Sister Nivedita. He joined the revolutionary group Anushilan Samiti at the tender age of only 15.
The deciding moment of Khudiram's life came in 1908, when he and Prafulla Chaki were assigned the task of assassinating the British official Kingsford. Kingsford was infamous for torturous clamping down on revolutionaries. Initially, the plan was to throw a bomb in the court, but it was changed to avoid injuries to civilians present in the court.
Thereafter, on the 30th of April 1908, Bose threw a bomb on a carriage which he suspected was carrying Kingsford, but Kingsford escaped.
While police arrested Khudiram from the Vaini railway station in Samastipur district, Bihar, Prafulla Chaki killed himself before being caught. As Khudiram was brought handcuffed to the police station at Muzaffarpur, the entire town crowded around to take a look at the teenage boy.
On July 13, 1908, Bose was sentenced to death. When the English judge asked him if he understood the meaning of the death sentence, Khudiram is known to have smiled and calmly nodded.
Khudiram said that his lawyer thought him too young to make bombs, but he can also teach the bomb making to the judge if allowed sometime before being hanged. Khudiram was martyred on the 11th of August 1908. We salute this young revolutionary freedom fighter.
Today we also remember devoted national leader and the first president of the Indian Republic, Bharat Ratna, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was born on the 3rd of December 1884.
जब हम स्वतंत्रता के अधिकारों को और आजादी के अख्तियारों को अपने हाथों में लेने जा रहे हैं, हमारा पहला कर्तव्य है हम उनके प्रति श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करें जिन्होंने इस दिन के लाने के लिए अपनी जिंदगी लगा दी और तरह तरह के कष्ट सहे.
Fondly called as Rajan Babu, he played a very important role in shaping the destiny of our nation and left an indelible imprint on our country's life and polity.
Rajendra Prasad met Gandhiji during the Champaran Satyagraha. Gandhiji's influence greatly altered many of his views, most importantly on caste and untouchability. Dr. Rajendra Prasad actively participated in the non-cooperation movement. He gave up his law practice and started a national college near Patna in 1921.
In July 1946, when the Constituent Assembly was established to frame the Constitution of India, he was elected its president.
देश में इस स्वतंत्रता प्राप्ति से जो उल्लास, जो खुशी और जो उत्साह होना चाहिए, वो इसका बंटवारा हो जाने के कारण किरकिरा हो गया है. हमारा काम है कि जो हमारे साथ रह गया है उसको हम ऐसा सुंदर, सुव्यवस्थित, सुसंगठित और समुन्नत करें कि बिछड़े हुए प्रदेशों को फिर हमसे मिल जाना बहुत अधिक लाभप्रद मालूम हो. हम आशा करते हैं हम अपने व्यवहार से, अपनी कार्य दक्षता से उनको फिर अपनी वो वापस ला सकेंगे.
On January the 26th, 1950, he was elected the nation's first president.
In 1962, after 12 years as president, Dr. Prasad retired and was subsequently awarded the Bharat Ratna, the nation's highest civilian award.
He died on the 28th of February 1963 at the age of 78. We salute this great national leader.
We also remember Ramadevi Chaudhary, a celebrated freedom fighter and a social reformer from Odisha. Gandhiji and Kasturba inspired her to dedicate herself for the cause of the country. Ramadevi, along with her family, plunged into the non-cooperation movement.
She was imprisoned on the 8th of November 1930 for leading the salt satyagraha at Srijanga Balasore and Kujanga Jagat Singhpur. Ramadevi founded Sevaghar, now a college, at Ramchandrapur, Badi, to reconstruct the flood-ravaged villages along the Brahmani river coast.
Gandhiji blessed her noble endeavour and inaugurated the ashram of austerity on the 20th of May 1934. Ramadevi was arrested on the 9th of August 1942, the day Gandhiji gave the clarion call of Quit India. After independence, Ramadevi dedicated herself entirely to the cause of the Bhudan and Gramdan movements of Acharya Vinoba Bhave.
We salute the great social worker and freedom fighter.
Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of Breakfast News, but news and updates will continue throughout the day, so keep watching DD India. Meanwhile, before we go, we'd also like to remind our viewers that the fight against COVID-19 is still on, so do make sure to maintain COVID-appropriate behavior at all times.
Absolutely, and before we wrap up today, we take you to Odisha, where a 5-day-long international sand art festival is being held. Take a look at these beautiful visuals this morning. Have a good day ahead. Thank you for joining us right now. Bye-bye.